Making a stop here at the Vikings Training Camp is NFL Network's Rhett Lewis. Rhett, thank you so much for being out here. I know you've been here a little bit more often
This is
lately.
like one of my training camp homes away from home.
There you go.
I feel like my dad's whole side of the family is from here, so I always love coming back and seeing what the Vikings are up to.
It's kind of funny. You're not the only NFL Network talent who has ties to Minnesota, so we appreciate you coming. It really is.
Shout out to everybody down in Redwood County.
There you go.
Right.
I like it. Well, you just had a chance to talk to Kirk and JJ.
Yeah.
What kind of vibes are you getting from them about this offense heading into year 2 under Kevin O'Connell?
Comfortability, I think, is the word that kind of rang out, especially when talking to Kirk about just kind of feeling so much more in command and calling plays, like just in OTAs, right, a few months ago here. And now in training camp, I imagine, it's felt so much better to not kind of have to second guess anything, which is something we've all kind of, learned that was a real growing process for those two with Kevin coming in. So I'm excited to see what that looks like, because obviously last year it looked pretty dang good, and that was just year 1, right?
Right, and it's funny, you were here 2 seasons ago, I think, so now it's a new staff, a new energy. Do you get, what kind of a sense and difference do you get from the last time you were out here to watching walkthrough a little while ago?
Yeah, I think I think you get that anytime there's a change, there's that initial, right? But I think it's a special credit to Coach O'Connell that it continues, right? You kind of continue to hear that vibe and that vibe of enthusiasm and excitement. Not only that it's just it was maybe different than what was before, but that's his style, right? And so I think that's really cool, and that's the way that you see his passion and love for the game. And look, that's where it starts, and then it manifests itself down out onto the field and throughout all these position groups, and that's what you want.
What is an exciting storyline that maybe is not so much talked about that you're following in this Vikings training camp?
How does Indiana Hoosier cornerback Jalen Williams work his way into the starting lineup? Shout out J. Will. I think one thing that's really cool, because with Bucky Brooks is here with me today. I do a lot of work with Daniel Jeremiah on the Move the Sticks podcast. And we think and talk almost 24/7 about roster building and about how to go about finding the best path forward for your franchise. And I think if you look at 2 position groups in particular for the Vikings, offensive line, you can make the case that the 5 starters are the 5 guys who are homegrown guys that were drafted by this franchise. And then obviously as of late, kind of remade the secondary group with guys that, again, you spent some high draft capital on. And so I think those opportunities give you your best chance for success when you're not out there having to spend in free agency to replace guys. And look, I think, especially in the secondary, you're going to count outside of Harrison, you're going to be counting on some youth. And you want to see that's where Kevin O'Connell building a talented coaching staff and developing players then comes into play. So I'm particularly, interested in those 2 groups because obviously there's a ton of talent everywhere, but seeing that homegrown talent kind of take hold is interesting.
I like that juxtaposition you just made, because there really isn't a starting corner from last season back on this roster.
But a lot of young guys
fighting
for a spot.
And then you look at the O-line, they're bringing back the starting 5 for the first time for the second time in 2 years, which is fantastic.
It's unheard of
for
too, by the way.
consistency.
Yeah.
So then you kind of look what's behind them. Dalvin Cook no longer here. You've got a running back room led by Alexander Madison and some guys who are really fighting for roster spots. How do you see the run game maybe turning around? They were 27th last year, so obviously it's a point of concern for Kevin.
Well, and it's I think just commitment in terms of scheme and play calling is a part of that as well. And look, when you have the best receiver in football and Justin Jefferson, I guess sometimes I don't care that the run game is 27th in the league. If it means JJ's getting his hands on the football more, that's also okay. So I think you do have to kind of, water will find its level there. While, I don't know that this team is going to be the number 1 rushing team in the league, but I think just you look at success within situationally, right? Short yardage. We got to be able to win in short yardage, right? Down in the red zone when you need to run the football, you got to be able to run the football. So I think it's just success in situationally in the run game is what you're going to be looking at. And that's kind of what we've seen out of Alexander Madison in his career. Yeah, situations have brought about opportunity that he has taken advantage of, and now that opportunity starts week 1. Yes. So I based on what we've seen from him, I have no concerns there.
I love that. Yes, he's worked hard for this, and now it's finally his moment to be starter number 1 on the depth chart. Yeah. Thank you so much to NFL
my
Network's
pleasure.
Rhett Lewis for being out here. Make sure you follow him and see him on NFL Network all football season long.